Elderly forced to stand on Eurostar. Outrage as a group of elderly Eurostar passengers forced to stand for entire Brussels Paris journey. A group of elderly passengers endured a deeply uncomfortable experience when they were forced to stand for the entire Eurostar journey from Brussels to Paris after a series of travel mishaps and miscommunication. Now we'll take a closer analytical look at this story on the AI podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're unpacking a scenario that really gets to the heart of what we expect from premium travel.
Things like comfort, reliability,
Yeah.
a certain level of care.
Exactly. You book a journey on something like Eurostar, this high-speed link between major European cities, and you expect efficiency, you expect ease.
Yeah, you pay for that promise.
But what happens when that promise doesn't just crack, but completely collapses? And not just because of a technical glitch, but through this cascade of bad judgment and system failures.
It's a really powerful story. We dove into the sources on this, and it's about a group of elderly travelers, most of them in their 80s.
In their 80s.
Yes, and they were forced to stand for an entire international journey, from Brussels all the way to Paris.
Wow.
So this isn't just a story about being inconvenienced. It's really a case study in how systemic failures and just critical miscommunication can combine to create real hardship, especially for the most vulnerable people.
That context of vulnerability is so crucial here, isn't it? When you look at the sources, you realize this deep dive is a shortcut to understanding that tension between, say, automated efficiency on one side and just basic human empathy on the other.
Right. And our mission today is to pull out those vital lessons for you. We're going to dissect the 3 key points of failure.
3 of them.
First, the initial technical disruption. Second, the really catastrophic human error that followed. And third, the digital wall they hit when they tried to get some kind of resolution.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start at the beginning with how this 2-night trip, which was supposed to be a nice, relaxing getaway, just went completely off the rails before they even left Brussels.
Okay, so the initial plan was pretty straightforward. This group, and we know the details because one of the travelers was an 81-year-old father whose daughter, Karen Morris, spoke about it later. They were booked on the 9:43 a.m. Eurostar from Brussels.
Right. A nice morning train. They've planned their whole day, their arrival in Paris around that specific time.
Exactly. They've committed to it. They've made their arrangements. But the first failure hits them when they're already, physically invested in the journey.
What do you mean by that?
They get a last-minute notification that the train has been canceled. But here's the thing. They get it while they are already on the way to the station.
Oh no, that's the worst. It's not like they found out the night before.
Not at all. Think about that feeling. You're literally moving toward your destination, you're on a schedule, and then the schedule just evaporates right under you. It's a total loss of agency.
And right away, the vacation is soured. It's immediately shorter. For a 2-night trip, losing even a few hours is a huge percentage of your whole experience.
It really is.
Yeah.
But to their credit, the group was resourceful. One of them actually managed to get on the phone or online and secure new seats.
Okay, so a bit of a recovery.
A partial recovery. They got tickets for the next available train, which was the 12:43 p.m. service, so 3 hours later.
3 hours. So they've lost that entire morning. But they have a ticket. They probably think, okay, the worst is over. Let's just salvage the rest of the trip.
That's exactly the mindset. They've accepted this diminished trip. But that solution, that new ticket, really just delayed the next much bigger problem.
And this brings us to the moment that is. It's just shocking, frankly. The moment where a staff member gets involved and turns a delay into a physical ordeal.
Right. So they get to Brussels Station, they've accepted the 3-hour delay, and a Eurostar staff member sees this group of elderly travelers and, presumably wants to help.
Okay, so trying to do the right thing, maybe?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
The employee sees their frustration and suggests that they could actually get on an earlier train, the 11:43 a.m. service.
Which, on the surface, sounds great. That's proactive customer service. You're getting them back an hour of their lost time. It seems like a genuine attempt to fix the system's failure.
It does. It has the appearance of a good solution, but the solution came with this really dangerous flaw.
Because the train was already full.
The train was packed. So the staff member advised the group to use the jump seats.
The jump seats, what are those exactly? The little fold-down seats?
Yes, the fold-down seats you sometimes see in the vestibules near the doors. They're usually reserved for onboard staff or crew. They're not for passengers.
Right. If that staff member knew the train was full, how did they not know those specific seats weren't available? Or even worse, how did they not realize how totally inappropriate those seats are for an international trip, especially for passengers in their 80s?
And that is the central question. It points to this huge gap between what staff might assume is a workable fix in a stressful moment and what's actually operationally possible or safe.
I mean, a jump seat isn't a real seat. It's a hard, uncomfortable little ledge, usually in a high-traffic area.
Exactly. It's for a crew member to sit on for maybe 10 minutes, not for an 81-year-old to endure for a multi-hour international journey. It's not a solution.
But the group, you have to imagine, was probably just so relieved to be getting back some of their vacation time. They took the offer.
They did. They took the staff member at their word and boarded the 11:43 a.m. train.
And the reality hits them.
Immediately, they get on board and there are no jump seats available. None.
So the advice was just completely wrong.
Either based on totally incorrect information or the employee just didn't check. They sent a group of vulnerable passengers onto a packed train based on a guess. And with no other seats, they were left with no choice.
They stood.
They stood for the entire journey to Paris.
This isn't a 10-minute subway ride. This is high-speed international rail, a premium service you pay a lot of money for. The impact of standing that long on your back, your joints, I can't even imagine, especially for people in their 80s.
It's immense. Karen Morris, the daughter, she called the treatment extremely disappointing, which I think is an understatement. The whole situation was described as miserable.
It's just a stunning failure. You have the system failure, the cancellation, and then this deeply misguided human fix that transforms an inconvenience into actual physical hardship.
It's the perfect storm of errors.
Okay, so we've established the absolute catastrophe of the journey itself. Let's move to what happened after. The aftermath, the apology, and what the sources tell us about the next wall they hit. The compensation maze.
Right. So they finally get to Paris. They're exhausted. They're upset. And they try to get some kind of compensation. And they immediately run into a huge digital roadblock.
The online claims form.
The online system. They tried to process their claim, but the system just kept telling them that the group was not eligible.
Oh, that's just insult to injury. That's classic frustration fatigue. You go through this terrible experience, and then the automated system that's supposed to help just dismisses you without any human input.
Yeah, exactly. It's like being told your problem doesn't exist.
So why? Why was the system flagging them as ineligible?
This is a really key insight for you, the traveler, because it reveals this sort of technical weak point in these big travel companies. Eurostar eventually explained that the booking had been made through a third party.
Ah, not directly on the Eurostar website.
Exactly. They used an external platform. And because that booking didn't originate inside Eurostar's own proprietary system, the automated compensation portal couldn't verify it.
So it couldn't match the booking reference, or it just wasn't integrated to handle third-party claims?
Precisely. The system is built for its own internal efficiency, but it completely breaks down when it meets the normal complexity of modern travel. I mean, how many people book through third parties? It's incredibly common.
So they were essentially penalized twice.
Right.
First by the disruption, and then again by the way they chose to buy their ticket in the first place.
Yes. It shows that even when a company puts out a strong apology, and to be fair, Eurostar did.
Right. They acknowledged a failure in communication and customer care. They said they fell short.
All true. The high-level apology is fine. But the low-level systemic barrier, that digital wall, it meant the family was forced into this long manual process just to prove their claim was real. The system's first instinct was to say no.
And Eurostar did eventually confirm their staff member was totally wrong about the seats, right?
Oh, absolutely. They clarified that this group stood because they were incorrectly advised that tip-up seats would be available. That admission of human error on top of the digital barrier just makes the whole thing feel so inescapable for them.
It really was a perfect storm, like you said. The tech creates the first problem with the cancellation, the human fix creates the physical suffering, and then the tech blocks the automated solution.
A complete end-to-end failure of the system, both human and digital.
So now that we've gone through this really upsetting case, let's zoom out a bit.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for you, the traveler? What are the takeaways here?
I think this incident is a really stark reminder of two main things. First, just how disproportionately travel disruptions can impact elderly or vulnerable people. And second, the need to kind of anticipate these systemic friction points, like that third-party booking barrier we just talked about.
And the sources also gave some broader advice about Eurostar travel, which I think is interesting because it speaks to this culture of efficiency that the company expects from passengers.
Yeah, let's get into those. The first point is about waiting times, specifically London-St. Pancras.
Right. The advice is, surprisingly, not to arrive too early.
Exactly. Regular writers point out that getting to the station too early can actually make your wait longer and more uncomfortable.
Why is that? I mean, your intuition for international travel is always get there as early as possible.
It's an infrastructure problem, really. It's about the flow of people through security and border control. St. Pancras is handling a huge volume of passengers, and there are bottlenecks. If you get there way before your check-in time, you're just adding to the queue, or you're stuck in a departure lounge that, as the second tip points out, isn't always that well equipped.
So the best strategy isn't earliest is best. It's more like timely is best.
Precisely. It's about minimizing that time you spend just standing around and waiting. It's an operational insight.
Minimize stationary discomfort, which is deeply ironic given what happened to this group. What about the second point, about the amenities?
That reinforces the same idea. Passengers are strongly advised to buy food and drinks before going through border control at St. Pancras. The sources say that once you're through security and passport checks, the options are really limited.
So you're dealing with long lines for a very small selection.
Yeah. So again, the system is placing these demands on you, the traveler. Be efficient with your timing, be efficient with your supplies, bring your own food.
When you put it all together, you see this incredible duality. On the one hand, you have the catastrophic breakdown of the human element in Brussels. And on the other hand, you have these highly efficient but pretty unforgiving systemic demands on the passenger. Navigate our third-party booking quirks, optimize your arrival time, pack your own lunch.
The whole trip became a nightmare because the company completely failed to balance its own push for efficiency with even a basic level of empathy.
Especially when dealing with travelers who couldn't just, roll with the punches. It's just a powerful, upsetting sequence of events. It shows how a few seemingly small failures, a cancellation, some bad advice, a computer saying no, can cascade into something that genuinely compromises a person's health and dignity.
And this whole situation, I think it really highlights the immense responsibility that we place on frontline staff, especially when our digital systems create chaos. When the cancellation notice goes out or the website doesn't work.
Call falls on that one person at the desk.
Exactly. So the final provocative thought for you to consider is this. In the middle of a major disruption, when the pressure for a quick fix is at its absolute highest, what investment do we really need to make sure that the human element of customer care, that ability to see a passenger's vulnerability and make a compassionate and, more importantly, an informed decision, doesn't get completely sacrificed?
Because at the end of the day, the cost of that misplaced efficiency is always, always paid by the traveler. Something to think about before your next trip. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Okay, one question for you. Should passengers, especially elder travelers, ever be allowed to stand on a long-distance international train like Eurostar? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.